our performance and careers framework is something that we developed, and we needed a software that could help us manage that, but not dictate how we did it. And that was really important to us. And I think Crewmojo very much looks at things from that lens. It's so customizable. It's got so many different features that I do think organizations can sort of use it to complement their processes or their frameworks, as opposed to being dictated to by a software about how they need to do performance management. So my name's Anthea. I'm a senior people and culture business partner at Carsales.com Limited. So my role really starts once employees join the organisation. So I am part of the broader people and culture teams. We ask all our managers to make sure they have a fortnightly diarised check-in with their team members, or one-to-one, and that's more probably of a tactile operational check-in, and obviously just that human connection. How are you doing? What have you been up to from that point of view as well? And I think we very much say that the framework, I guess the manager opens the door. The manager needs to create the space, the time, needs to have the understanding, the empathy, and needs to sort of go on that journey with their employee. But careers are really led by an individual, I believe. So it's, if they come to those meetings prepared, it's how they're going to get the most from it and start to put their plans and their goals out there and start actioning them. So we introduced it in late probably halfway through 2019. So probably, the second half of 2019, I think we introduced it. And initially, we were also starting to have conversations at that time about a goal setting framework, and we're looking into things like OKRs. And so the platform really ticked both boxes. We wanted something that that we could do goal setting and we could manage our Supercharged program of work through. So we know that employees don't live in these HRIS systems, managers don't live in them. So we wanted something where it could be a one-stop shop for both things, that they weren't always logging in and out of systems, and that was super easy and friendly to use. I think the first blocker to having anyone use these systems, particularly for performance-related conversations, if it's hard to do, if they've got to request information from all these different people, we wanted something really simple and easy. So we introduced it halfway through 2019 with the view that we would use it for OKRs or goal setting of some sort, I should say, actually. And so we focused on just rolling it out to our teams from a Supercharged lens. So how will managers, employees use it for that program of work? And then probably the last 6 to 12 months, we've been experimenting with goal setting and OKRs in different pockets of the business. And it's been really great for that as well. And that's a program of work we're going to continue to build upon across the whole organisation, and Crewmojo will be integral to that. Probably the main pain point was, there was no, I guess, consistent approach to how managers were recording outcomes, or, essentially how they were documenting these conversations with their team members. So it was really clear on who was responsible for what. So, if a team member and a manager had had a conversation about mentoring, was it the employee's responsibility to go out and sign up for the mentor program? Was the manager going to help them do that? So we wanted to alleviate any confusion there. So it was really clear walking away from a conversation what the next steps were, what the goals were. I think another pain point was, some of our managers do manage large teams, over 6 people, and any person shouldn't have to remember exactly every conversation that they've had 4 times a year. So Crewmojo was going to help address that from just a record keeping point of view. I think what's good about it as well is that it's super easy to use. So we've set up the quarterly conversation function. At every quarter, the manager or the employee can go into their Crewmojo account and it says, it's a learning and development conversation time, and they can start that conversation. They can record some pre-notes or some talking agendas they want to cover in that face-to-face conversation. We didn't want a digital tool that was going to replace having a face-to-face conversation. That's still so important. We wanted something that's going to complement it, and I think that that's what Crewmojo has done really well. what's been really complimentary actually is Crewmojo. So when we launched the program in 2018, we didn't have a digital tool to support these conversations. So it was very much managers go away, keep your own records, team members keep your own records of the conversations. And we always knew we needed a digital tool. So we let it run for 12 months, and then we introduced Crewmojo in part to help us manage and record these conversations. Managers were generally pretty responsive to it. They liked the idea of having a central place where they could record or, make notes of actions from those conversations they were having with their team. I think, the I think that journey of how you want to have your performance and career conversations is very individual. So employees who are really motivated by those types of conversations, have really clear goals, probably, I think, got a lot out of the platform. And then there's always people who are probably a little bit slower or just not in that stage of their career where they're so worried about these conversations. So then engaging with the platform is probably not as high on their to-do list. I think though the general feedback is it's very easy to use. I mean, that's been super clear from day one. We haven't really had to do training because it's pretty self-explanatory. So when we do our quarterly, this is what your learning and development conversation is, we probably have 1 minute where we go, and as a reminder, this is how you do it in Crewmojo. We've got like 1 or 2 instructional documents, which we put on our intranet that we send around, but I don't even know that people need to look at them because I think it's so self-explanatory. I think what people have loved about the platform as well, which I failed to mention, is that you can obviously do shout outs. So, praise to people. And we used to have our program of praise is called Shout. And it's been great that we've been able to link that with Crewmojo, also push it through to Slack. And I think we've seen more engagement since we did that with our shout outs and with our praise. It used to be you had to log onto the intranet and it was posted onto a TV screen, which was great and it worked well at the time. But then if you think of all of last year, we're all at home, we didn't see TV screens in the office, we didn't have monitors. So being able to have that shout out function that pushed to a Slack channel that everyone, regardless of location, could see and could feel that kudos or that praise has been great. And that's been really well adopted, I think. For the teams that have been experimenting it with goal setting and OKRs as well, they're finding it really useful. I think that probably has required a little bit more hands-on intervention in terms of this is the right way to do it, this is how you cascade, this is how you align, but that's just because goal setting is more complicated than performance conversations probably. I think our philosophy is very much, I think, as we spoke to earlier, is people feeling that they have the time and space to have a dedicated performance conversation. And so we've said that has to happen at a minimum 4 times a year. I think, as I said, the framework's flexible. So if a manager wants to check in on those conversations more regularly, absolutely up to them. So I think that's the first thing, that every employee is having more or less a unified experience. They know that they're going to have 4 conversations a year with their manager, and that their friend who works in a completely different team is also having that experience. Again, it really does help us support that because it's such an easy system to use. It's super easy for a manager and employee to get in there, to see that it's time to have that quarterly conversation, to record those notes. We've even embedded questions, as I said, that managers could ask to start that conversation. Likewise, there's some pointers for employees about how they could start to think or prepare for the conversation. They understand what people want from a career development platform or a performance and careers platform, and they're always constantly improving what's available on there, because there is so much. And I think, but we've picked what works for us, and that would be my number one testament, is that customization of the platform to work for your organization.